video, we're talking all about how to change jobs or careers with confidence in 2026. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kara if you are new here, and I create content that ultimately gives you the confidence and know-how to work well, live well, and travel well. So if that interests you, if you are curious about what exactly that means, or maybe you just want to support me and keep up with me and all the things going on in my life, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so that way you're notified anytime a new video goes live. So in today's video, we're talking all about how to change jobs or careers with confidence in 2026. So if that is a goal for you this year, this video is for you. According to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, the average person will change careers over 12 times during their lifetime. And while there isn't one exact number that accounts for how many times someone may change careers, there is some industry reports that estimate this number to be between 3 and 7 times. Why am I saying this? Well, change is inevitable. It is something that all of us will experience multiple times over the course of our careers. So this is not a one-time event. What is different right now is the landscape that we are navigating this change in. The job market is more uncertain than ever. We are navigating layoffs more and more. There really is no security or long-term benefits to staying with one particular company. And the whole notion that you start at the bottom and work your way up in a very linear fashion doesn't really hold the same as it did in prior years. So given all of this, a lot of times when people are thinking about changing their job or their career, it can feel heavy, it can feel intimidating, it could feel confusing. A lot of the career advice that we grew up learning was designed for a more stable market, a completely different environment where the rules were clearer, timelines felt more predictable, and the payoff was somewhat guaranteed. That's not the world that we're working in anymore. And so because of that, I see a lot of people that are approaching career change from a place of panic or urgency or desperation rather than intentionally choosing their next step. I also do hear the terms job change and career change used interchangeably, and while there are some similarities, they are different. And so when you confuse the two, that can lead to unnecessary pivots, avoidable stress, and you may find yourself in the same position that you were trying to get out of. So in this video, I really want to help you slow this process down and think about career change not as a crisis, but as a skill you can build and reuse throughout your life. So I'm gonna walk you through just a clear, grounded framework or some steps to consider to help you change jobs or careers with more confidence, with more clarity and intention. So without further ado, let's get into the first step. All right, so the first thing that you are going to start with when you are thinking about a job change or a career change is really getting clear on why it is that you're seeking change in the first place. So before you start applying to roles, before you start reaching out to people, before you start updating your resume, you first need to pause and ask yourself, what is going on? What is the root of why I am trying to change? So here are a few questions that you can ask yourself to really get to the root of why you're wanting this change. So first things first, you're gonna ask yourself, what about your current role is no longer working for you? This could be your scope, the growth, compensation, leadership, the pace of the organization. You don't have enough flexibility, you're not feeling valued, you could feel burnt out. But what about your current role is not working? The second thing you're gonna ask yourself is, what do I want more of in my career right now? So is it more challenge? Is it more creativity? Is it more impact? Is it more autonomy? The third thing you're gonna ask yourself, what am I trying to protect or prioritize in this season of my life? Really being able to name that will ensure that, again, you don't land in a similar situation where you're still not able to prioritize the things that you need to. And lastly, I want you to ask yourself, What does success look like now, not 5 years ago? A lot of people are feeling stuck because they're still chasing definitions of success that were set for them, that were placed on them by external people or societal expectations or just whatever, right? So I really want you to think about, what does success look like for me right now? So those 4 questions will really help to ground you in the real reason for your change, right? And this, again, is so important because you don't want to end up in the same situation that you are trying to leave out of. All right, so moving on. Now that you have a better understanding of why you are wanting change, now is a good chance to really understand what type of change that you need. So as I mentioned or alluded to earlier in this video, a job change and a career change are not the same. And so a lot of times people will think that they need a career change when maybe all they need to do is change teams or change industries or change into a similar role within the same function, right? It doesn't always require these big grandiose, like I need to change every single thing that I'm doing in my life. And so I really encourage you to get clear on what type of change you're seeking. So some of those changes could be a role change, meaning you want to stay in the same field, but you just want to shift maybe your scope or your level or your responsibilities. An industry change where maybe you're taking similar skills into a different space. A career pivot, which does mean that you're moving into something completely different. Or maybe it's just a lifestyle shift, so really focusing on how work is fitting into your overall life. Each one of these changes requires a little different of a strategy, and this is why copying someone else's strategy often backfires. Their problem wasn't your problem, their constraints aren't your constraints, and their life might not be the kind of life that you want. So again, it's so important that you clarify the type of change that you need at this particular time. All right, tip number 3, and this tip is also very important. I mean, all these tips are important, that's why I'm sharing them, but y'all get my point. All right, the next thing that you want to do is audit your career capital. So first things first, you may be asking, like, what is career capital? So I like to think of career capital as the collection of skills, experiences, and relationships that you accumulate over the course of your career, right? At the end of the day, these are valuable to you. These things are valuable and you could use them at different points in your career. But a lot of people, I find, don't have a clear understanding of what these things are. They're not keeping good track. And so when you are contemplating a career change or a job change, it could feel like you have to start from ground zero, but oftentimes I find that is not the case. So starting with your career capital will give you a good understanding of what you're starting with and how you can kind of use that to build from, right? You're not starting from zero. A lot of times people do think that when they're wanting to change jobs or careers that they have to start from scratch, and you do not have to. So one tool that I love to use for this is a brag book, and I have created one in Notion right now. Maybe I'll consider putting a template out in Excel, but I do have a Notion version of the brag book, which is basically a way for you to keep track of all of the things that you're doing over the course of your career. It is so easy to like look up and be like, oh my gosh, like 10 years have gone by in my career and I don't remember the project that I did when I was 2 years in, or the person that I connected with at year 5. Like, this is something that I wish personally that I would have been better about earlier in my career, is really documenting the projects that I'm working on, the people that I'm meeting, the courses and the classes that I'm taking, the skills that I'm learning, the feedback that I'm receiving. I think this is so important, and being able to then look and see like what are the common themes, the feedback that you continuously get, the strengths that you are continuously called out for. All of these things are pieces of information, and at the end of the day, they all add set up to be your career capital. So I really encourage you to spend some time, you know, really looking back at your career and coming up with those things that would make up your career capital. So I'm going to leave the link for the brag book below if you are interested in checking it out, if you just need a template or something to use. But also you could use a notes app, you can use a little folder on your desktop, and you can just drop things in there, screenshots of projects or feedback or, you know, whatnot as you get them. You just need a way to collect these things so that you can refer back to them. All right, so now moving on to tip number 4, which is honestly one of my favorite. It is my favorite thing to do when I'm thinking about changing something about my job or my career, and that is first experimenting. Okay, this step is really about curiosity over commitment. So this might look like informational interviews, exploring internal roles, low pressure research, special projects, short courses or certifications, mentorship. The idea here is that you are gathering information. You're testing your assumptions. You're also learning what you don't like to do, which is just as important as understanding what you do like to do. Nothing has to be permanent yet. You are not locking yourself into a new identity. You're just collecting data. I think this is often the step that people skip through or they breeze by it, and you really should spend a lot of time really thinking and testing out what you're wanting to do. So as I mentioned, this is one of my favorite steps. I have spent a lot of time experimenting and testing different hypotheses that I've had about my career and what I wanted to do with it over the course of the last 10 years. So some experiments or explorations that I have done for myself personally would include, one, getting my TEFL certification. This was a couple of years ago when I really wanted to figure out ways that I could take a career break and travel. And I had seen a lot about teaching English as a foreign language, and so I signed up for a course. I started tutoring on the side. I ended up going through the interview process and, you know, securing a job in South Korea to teach English, which I ultimately rescinded because I realized that that was not exactly what I wanted to do, and this is why I ended up taking a career break instead of teaching. But having that experience and going through that and allowing myself to kind of test whether or not I wanted to actually be a teacher before just uprooting my life and doing it is important, right? Another test that I've done for myself is when I was interested in getting my PhD. There was a time when I thought this was a path for me, and so I spent a year you know, really researching PhD programs. I reached out to my profile who had her PhD, and she allowed me to work under her as a research assistant to really understand the research process. I ended up attending what is called the PhD Project Conference, which I do believe that is still an active organization. And so if you are interested in a PhD, I do recommend like checking them out, because they basically bring in all of these prospective PhD students and they kind of talk about PhD programs, the application, the process itself. You get a chance to network with schools and teachers and faculty. And so through all of these like different things that I was doing to explore my PhD, ultimately I decided, okay, no, like while I've learned a lot, you know, I've enjoyed some aspects of exploring, it's not what I see myself doing in the long run. And so I ended up not getting my PhD. But each one of these experiments is an example of how you can kind of test your assumptions. You can test if you actually want to move or change your job before you do it, and there are several ways to do that. So I do encourage you to spend a good amount of time in this step, in this phase, really trying to collect as much information as you can, so that way you can make the best decision possible. All right, moving on to tip number 5, and this is around crafting a clear career narrative. It's unavoidable. You are going to be asked about it, whether you're changing jobs or you're changing careers. And so understanding and owning your own story is ultimately going to just serve you at the end of the day, right? It's not necessarily about explaining or justifying why you are changing something about your career, but it's just about connecting the dots for people, ensuring that they understand and you understand why you're making the moves that you're making. How is this helping you grow? What skills are you now trying to learn? Or what strengths are you able to tap into and use? What environments are you putting yourself into because of this change? Right? Really getting clear on your story is only going to help you once you get into the phase where you're talking to people, you're interviewing, you're applying, you're actively bringing people along your journey. So I do encourage you, once you have kind of made the decision and you have kind of your intended path forward, spending some time being able to explain the transition between point A to point B. Tip number 6 is to reality check your resources. At the end of the day, any type of change is going to require some give and take. It requires time, it requires energy, it requires money sometimes. And so really being realistic about what you have to give in this particular season of your life is going to be important, so that way you can understand what you can and cannot commit to at this time. So here are some questions to ask yourself when you're thinking about, do you have the resources in place to support a transition right now? So here are some questions that I recommend asking yourself. Number 1, again, what do your finances look like? There are some career changes or job changes that do require money. When I was moving from South Carolina to Chicago, I was moving from IT to HR. It did not come with a relocation package. And so I had to finance my entire move on a credit card because that was the only way that I was going to make it work. And so I knew at the time that I could financially do this and pay myself back over time with my increased salary. I had the credit limit and I had the resources and the means available to do it. So I went for it, but maybe you're not in that same situation. So really understanding what the financial commitment of the change requires and asking yourself if you're able to commit to that right now. Again, in the same vein, asking yourself, what does your energy and your capacity look like for a change? So if you're going through really big life transitions, i.e. you just moved, or maybe you are entering a new relationship, or you're having a baby, or you're just in a season of life where you're traveling a lot, it may not be smart to commit to changing a job or changing careers until you feel that you're able to have the capacity to fully commit. So really understanding what's going on in your life and is now the right time. Another question that I recommend asking, are you emotionally ready for the change? Okay. Change is often an emotionally draining process because you are used to doing something one way or going to one particular company or working with a particular set of people, and then you are completely flipping the script and doing something different. And so if you have grown emotionally attached to something or someone, then it's going to be different. So I encourage you to ask yourself, are you ready to handle that right now? The last thing that I encourage you to ask yourself, who or what is supporting me through this change? I am a big advocate in that navigating life, and particularly your career, should not be done alone. You want to make sure that you have people in your corner, people that are holding you accountable, people that are able to be that shoulder to cry on. They're able to give you a listening ear when you're kind of faced with challenging situations. You want to make sure that you feel supported and protected. So who do you have in your corner that can support you? All right, now for our last and final tip. If you are somebody who is wanting to navigate a job change or a career change in 2026, and this is where kind of all the preparation comes together. This is about building your transition plan. So thinking about what's going to stay the same as you work through this transition, what needs to change, are there any skill gaps that you first need to close before you're able to actually make the transition, are there any internal moves that make sense, or do you need to move externally? At the end of the day, you don't need to blow up your life. Most sustainable career changes are layered. They are not dramatic. So as you are building your transition plan, I encourage you to think about what are small things that you can shift over time to slowly inch yourself to your end goal. It is not something that you need to completely flip the switch on and immediately be doing the new thing that you have your eyes on, right? You can definitely baby step your way into a career change. In fact, I recommend it. At the end of the day, a good career move is about reducing pressure over time. It's not about inviting more chaos into your life. So I really encourage you to pace yourself. Take your time. You can prepare quietly. There is nothing wrong with building stability first before you decide to leave. So those are the 7 tips that I have for you if you are somebody who is wanting to change jobs or careers. And again, most of us will navigate multiple career changes. And so learning how to do this with clarity and with intention is one of the most important career skills that you can build for yourself. It's not about having everything figured out. You just need to understand why you're moving, what kind of move you're making, and what you're bringing with you. That's it. All right, y'all, so that is it. That's the end of the video. I hope that those 7 tips helped you to think about career change or job change differently. If this is something that is on your goals for 2026, let me know down below which tip you're gonna start with first, and let's hold each other accountable. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure that you like it, make sure you are subscribed, and yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, for lasting this long. If you've made it to this point in the video, thank you so much. I love you. I appreciate you for being here, and really excited to continue to bring more of these sit down style, podcast style videos to my YouTube channel. It is like my own personal goal to be better about just speaking publicly about careers, about HR things, about just living well, about work-life balance, like all of these things I am so passionate about. And I feel like my YouTube channel is a great place for me to put a voice and to find my voice when it comes to this industry. I feel like I'm slowly creating one for myself, but I know that by talking more, it will only make me more confident. And so yeah, thank you for being here on the journey, on my own personal, growth and development journey. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video.